Hello, I'm Alexander and this is the Car Club, and it's so cold and windy I'm going to get back inside the car. This is the Car Club. It's a channel where I'm going to talk about cars in general. Sister channel to the Comfortable Car Club, but that channel is going to be more dedicated to this car. You know, its ups and downs, what it's like to fix, and etc. Trying to streamline content. Now today I'm talking about electric vehicles, but that won't be the norm. I'm going to talk about all sorts of things. So let's get straight to it.
Several days later.
Mobile phones and electric vehicles have a very similar development process. The first ones were these cumbersome things that looked a bit silly and were, well, very cumbersome and had terrible battery life while being rather expensive, which meant that the people who bought them were rather wealthy and could put up with the shortcomings. And then there was a second generation of both of them. In case of the mobile phones in the 90s, they got these smaller nickel-cadmium batteries that made them much easier to transport. Their battery life was much better, and they just got better in every way. And the same thing with electric cars in the early 2010s. They began to have usable range and not be so stratospherically expensive that only very rich and eccentric people could buy them. In the case of mobile phones, there was another big step forward, and that was when nickel-cadmium batteries gave way to lithium-ion batteries. Now the problem with these nickel-cadmium batteries was that they had a thing called the memory effect, where if you didn't discharge it fully and then recharge it fully, it would remember the point where you started to charge it. Let's say you started charging at 30%, and if you charged a couple of times at 30%, it would begin to consider that that 30% was where it was empty. So it would only have like 70% of the battery remaining, you know, in terms of capacity. Does that make sense? And it was very annoying, because that would mean in the middle of the day you'd have to wait till your phone discharged fully to recharge it fully. And basically that wasn't convenient at all. As soon as lithium-ion batteries became commonplace enough, and affordable enough I should say, for people to buy them, we got rid of our nickel-cadmium battery powered phones en masse. Junk. Throw them in the bin. They're terrible, because it was just a pain in the backside not to be able to just, you know, charge like 20% before you went out just for the night, you know, something like that. So that became more or less the norm, and nickel-cadmium batteries became a thing of the past. Electric vehicles are poised to go through a similar step forward in the near future if all goes well, let's say. And ironically, it's because lithium-ion batteries are the problem. Now, they really did make electric vehicles something that could be used every day. But on the other hand, they do have their limitations. They take a very long time to charge, and also they begin to lose capacity rather early on, especially if you fast charge them. The problem with current batteries isn't that they're lithium-ion, it's because they've got a liquid electrolyte. By the way, this is my studio because it's got nice acoustics and privacy, and you know, I can film day or night. The lighting is going to be the same. So, sorry, small aside there. But there are on the horizon some batteries that may solve the problems that lithium-ion batteries pose. And those are solid-state batteries. They are quicker to charge, more energy dense, and safer than current lithium-ion batteries. So, if they come to market, it's going to be a real game changer. Overnight electric vehicles will be safer, no more thermal runaway shenanigans. They will be able to go further because they can go further on a single charge. Mercedes have one that went 1,200 kilometers, which is, as near as making a difference, 750 miles. And most of all, if it brings down charging times, that's the real game changer, because EVs currently, their big problem, apart from all the rest, but the biggest problem undoubtedly are charging times. So for example, I live in an apartment building. I have no electrical outlet. I can't charge at home, as most electric vehicle owners love to brag about. But anyway, I have to go out to charge. I would have if I had an electric vehicle. I'd get to the charging station, first off cross my fingers that it wasn't broken, then I'd have to wait if someone is using it, and that can be half an hour or more. And then I'll have to go and charge, and it'll be also about half an hour for me to charge my battery, like fully or somewhat. And so I'll spend my life just going out looking for charging stations, hoping to charge. It's completely untenable. That's why most people have petrol and diesel vehicles. But then if suddenly I can charge a lot quicker and spend less time at the charging station, it does become viable for me to own an electric vehicle, live in an apartment, but go out and charge every now and then. Maybe it'll take 10 minutes or 20 or something like that, a bit longer than petrol or diesel, but still within a manageable time frame. So that could be a real game changer. But then on the other hand, what about the current electric vehicles on the road? What's going to happen to them? There's no sugarcoating it. They're going to go the same way as those nickel cadmium batteries. Everyone will want to get rid of them, so they will become utterly worthless. Obviously, they are an inferior product in relation to solid-state batteries. They take longer to charge, they hold less energy, they're more dangerous, and also they don't last as long in terms of their lifespan. One thing I didn't mention, solid-state batteries seem to have longer, or should I say more possible charging cycles, which mean they can be charged a lot more often than lithium-ion batteries before they begin to lose capacity. So there's that. So if you own an electric vehicle with current technology, yeah, they're not cheap to buy in the first place. In fact, they're very expensive. And it will turn out they're going to be an absolutely terrible investment. But if that's not bad enough, if you are a manufacturer and you've basically bet the farm on, lithium-ion batteries with a liquid electrolyte, then you're doubly stuffed, because all your supply chains, all of your technology, all of your manufacturing processes, everything is geared toward that kind of battery. So unless you can adapt your cars to use solid-state batteries very quickly, you're going to be left behind. So for example, a company like, I don't know, Tesla, which said that they really didn't believe in the future of solid-state batteries, yeah, they're in some deep doo-doo. Of course, no one's going to cry if Elon Musk, the Nazi, goes bankrupt. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen, because obviously, even if Tesla does go belly up, he's still got other companies such as SpaceX that he can use to siphon, money off the American government and keep his rockets flying. I do feel sorry for the employees of Tesla, though. They don't deserve such a fate. And funnily enough, two of the foremost players in the solid-state battery arena were actually rather resistant to electric vehicles for quite a while. There's Toyota. They're already making their own electric vehicles, but they've been on the cusp of releasing a solid-state battery vehicle for a long time. And it's funny, because for a long time they resisted electric vehicles. They were fine with hybrids and thought, that was the way forward, not fully battery electric vehicles. And the other is Mercedes. Why is that odd? Because, well, even though they have made electric vehicles for quite some time now, I remember their first ones didn't even fast charge, and in general the Germans were criticised for being left behind. They were very good at engineering mechanical things, but electric vehicles really needed software, things like that, and they were very behind in that respect. So now it seems they'd leapfrogged the competition. They've made a Mercedes, I think it's an EQS, that's been tested on public roads, and it is really on the cusp of being available to the public. So yeah, they'll probably have the last laugh after being criticised as being so far behind. But all of this is really just speculation until solid-state batteries are launched. And even then they have to prove themselves. There really is no way of knowing if they will be the next step in EV evolution. They might be horrendously expensive, for example. Or they may have some fatal flaw that wasn't detected during production, and they might simply not be viable for the car buying public. They might be like Olestra. For those who don't know, Olestra was a fat substitute that supposedly would allow you to eat food which had fat before, but then it was replaced by Olestra and it still tasted nice. Then they found out that Olestra gave you a leaky bum, so that's why you don't have Olestra in food anymore. Might be the same with solid-state batteries, although I kind of doubt solid-state batteries will give you a leaky bum though. So yeah, in a nutshell, if solid-state batteries become a common occurrence in everyday life, current electric vehicles are going to be worthless, going to be thrown away by the boatload if solid-state batteries become a thing in everyday life. So that's my opinion. Let me know yours in the comments below. Please like, share and subscribe. This has been the Car Club. Stay tuned for more videos very soon. Thanks very much for watching. I bid you all farewell.